I'm Squire Nate. Today we're going to talk about Quantarius, History Chaser. This is a 4-mana planeswalker that helms the new Strixhaven Lorehold Commander deck. It's a super moderately powered commander deck, very fun, but we're going to talk about how to take 7 cards and turn it into a monster. Now let's talk about some of the cards that already came in the precon and absolutely helped this deck run beautifully. First off, we got Containment Conductor. This is a 2-mana, 2/1 creature that whenever we discard a card, you can exile that card, and then until end of turn, you can play that card. This allows us to use our commander's ability to create spirits while making sure that we don't actually lose the value off the cards we discard. Now, Vanguard of the Restless is an absolutely bonkers 3-mana 2/2 spirit. He gives all of your other spirits +1/+1 for each time you've cast your commander from the command zone. And since we're playing a planeswalker in the command zone, chances are people are going to knock it out every chance they get. So he'll make our spirits massive. On top of that, for 1 white and 2 colorless, whenever a spirit enters the battlefield under your control, you can return him from your graveyard to play, making him excellent sacrifice fodder and a reoccurring threat. Advanced Reconstruction is a 3-mana class that is going to be super powerful in this deck, because on the first level, it's going to let you exile cards from your graveyard and replay those, triggering your commander and providing card advantage. At the second level, it's going to deal damage every time you exile a card from your graveyard, and at the third level, it's going to make spells that are cast from anywhere other than your hand cost less. This does everything the deck wants to do all on 1 card. So with no further ado, here's the 7 cards I cut from this deck and why. First off, we got Quntoriius, Lore Master. He's a pretty powerful card in and of himself, but this deck's running 3 of the 4 Quantariuses, and honestly, I keep accidentally playing this one, thinking it's the other one. And he's probably the least powerful since he only can trigger once per turn. And next to go is Wave of Reckoning. This is a 5-mana board wipe, sort of. It's going to make each of the creatures in play deal damage equal to its own power to itself. So we can make this one-sided if we have the setup, but I don't feel like this is the deck for it. Being in white, we have access to better board wipes, and they already came in the precon. Now, Perpetual Timepiece puts cards into the graveyard, which is pretty good. However, I think the reason we put this into the deck initially was so that we could be able to exile it, remove cards from the graveyard, and trigger our commander making spirits. The fact that we have to exile this card itself in order to do this effect means we're only ever going to trigger it once, and our commander doesn't care about how many cards leave the graveyard, just how many instances of 1 or more cards leaving the graveyard there are. So for me, it's just not enough. Ao the Sky Dragon is a 5-mana creature, and for me, that's just too much mana. Most of the recursion in this deck wants to return things with mana value 4 or less, or 3 or less, so he's going to get missed by most of our targets, and I just don't feel like his dies trigger is good enough when a lot of the recursion in this deck puts finality counters onto a creature, which means we won't get that dies trigger anyways. Carol History Buff giving +1/+1 counters and tramples is pretty good, and he's very easy to prepare. However, I didn't feel like he was doing enough, so yet again, he got the cut. Next, we got Secret Rendezvous. Secret Rendezvous is going to make both you and an opponent draw 3 cards. I don't like giving my opponents cards, so it's got to go. The last card I cut from this deck was Angel of Indemnity, which is a 5/5 flying lifelink blocker or attacker, but it costs 6 mana to return a creature with mana value 4 or less when it enters, which is only once. It does have Encore, so we can remove it from the grave, creating a spirit and get that effect again, but too much mana in my choice. And now we get to the fun part. The 7 cards I'm going to add to the deck that's going to make it absolutely whistle. The first one's going to be Idyllic Tutor. This 3-mana sorcery lets us search our library for an artifact or enchantment and put it into our hand. Since most of the utility cards in this deck are either artifacts or enchantments, this card's going to be super powerful and give us a lot more consistency. Now, this deck is full of powerful enter the battlefield triggers, and we're going to want ways to make sure we can put those creatures back into our yard to reanimate again. And we're going to do that with an Ashnod's Altar. For 3 mana, we get an artifact that allows us to sacrifice a creature to add 2 colorless mana to our mana pool. Mana is extremely powerful, and this is going to go great. Full Throttle may cost 6 mana, but is an excellent way to finish the game. Our commander is going to give us a ton of spirits, and then we'll give him Double Strike and Vigilance off of his -4 ability. Then take 3 combat phases that turn, untapping in between in case we have any tap triggers. This is going to be wild. When Renewed Solidarity enters the battlefield, we're going to choose spirits every single time. This is going to give us a +1/+0 to all of our spirits. On top of it, at the beginning of our end step, we're going to make a copy of each token we had enter the battlefield that was a spirit this turn. This is insane. When I play Commander and I'm going for the win, I like a little bit of risk and a little bit of flair. So this card, Last Chance, is going to do exactly that. It lets us take an extra turn after this one. However, at the end of that turn, we're going to lose the game. But with Double Strike and Vigilance, I don't think we're going to need more than one turn. Now, Talisman of Conviction's not a very flashy ad, but you can't argue with a 2-mana rock. Ghost Vacuum is a 1-mana artifact that allows you to tap it and exile a card from a graveyard, which triggers your commander at will, and by itself, already enough to make it stay in the deck at 1 mana. However, for 6 mana, you can then sacrifice the Ghost Vacuum, put all the cards exiled by Ghost Vacuum into play, and now they're 1/1 spirits in addition to their other types. This is wild. It's going to give us so much value, and our whole deck cares about spirits. If you enjoyed this deck tech and want to see more like it, make sure to hit that follow button, and I'll catch you next time.